when you walk down the road, every burden, heavy load, I will rise and I will walk with you. I'll walk with you till the sun don't even shine. Walk with you every time I'm talking. I'll walk with you. Believe me, I'll walk with you.
So then Brian and Steven showed up on a tandem bicycle. Spike, why did everybody bail on me?
Human beings have the power to make choices.
Yeah, and nobody chose to come to my party. What difference does it make now?
But you don't have to build a building or publish a magazine to make a difference in this world.
Then why do I feel so guilty?
No, the only thing you're guilty of is trusting someone who didn't deserve it.
Then what do I do next?
You know in your heart what the right choice to make is.
Is it to come to the realization that I'm meant to do challenges for the Pokemon Trading Card Game on the Game Boy Color?
Bad things are always going to happen in this life, and people will hurt you. But you can't use that as an excuse to fail or to hurt someone else in return.
Yeah, shut up. I think I have an idea. What if I were to spread disease and pestilence to all the cards in the land? Yeah, I think this could work.
Sometimes the end is just the beginning, huh?
The end usually is just the beginning.
Oh boy, everybody, do I have a spicy one for you today. So far, I've beaten the Pokemon Trading Card Game with my Shroom Boys. I did it with my Sandy friends, I suffered for all of you by using Matthew's deck, and I did it with only Ice types. This time, let's try something different. Instead of a solo Pokemon, monotype, or using a specific deck, what if I tried to use only a certain kind of attack? That's right, this time around, I want to see how difficult it is to beat the game using only attacks that can poison. Why poison? Well, if you watched my Shroomies or Sandy's challenge on Pokemon Card GB2, the vending Paraspectre and Sandshrew variants absolutely owned everybody with their poisoning. Typically, if an opponent's Pokemon was poisoned, they would tend to retreat them immediately, which would also cause them to lose energies constantly from paying the retreat costs. I raved and raved about how absolutely boss that Parasect was, and I made the bold claim that poison is the best status effect in the card game. Some people disagree, but I think we can all agree that sleep is the worst. Sorry, Jungle Parasect. But the thing with poisoning is that it deals damage every alternating turn, so it's possible to knock out a bunch of Mons over time. Therefore, I have compiled a list of every Pokemon card that deals out the almighty venom. It's time to turn to the metal side, baby. Grab your nearest 45 of Unskinny Bop, because I am going to be spreading toxins all over this pathetic card island. Dr. Mason is going to be working overtime in the ER on this day. So firstly, let's go over the rules, and I will go through each and every card that I will be using. Not only can I only use the Pokemon that have poison attacks, I can only use those attacks. If the Pokemon has another attack that does not poison, it will be useless. There are a total of 17 Pokemon cards in this game with poison attacks, but here's the other thing. 7 of these are evolved Pokemon, so kind of like with my Icy type challenge where I had to have Seal and Shelter in the deck to be able to use Dugong and Cloyster, I could never attack with Seal or Shelter as they are pure water types. So there will be 7 Pokemon I have to have in the deck but can never attack with. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. I'm also implementing the rule that I must use every Pokemon that can poison and only one of each. I will have 25 Pokemon in the deck, and I'm going to need around 20 to 25 energies, so this deck will be pretty limited on trainer cards this time. So per usual, skip to this time if you just want to get to the challenge itself and don't want to hear what cards must be in the deck. Our first friend is going to be Ivysaur. Yeah, this is a weird one where I won't be attacking with Bulbasaur, and I won't even have a Venusaur in the deck to evolve it into. And if you haven't guessed, almost all of these will be grass types. 22 out of the 25 actually. Ivysaur is a decent option with 60 HP, a weakness to fire, and a retreat cost of 1. For 3 grass energies, I can use Poison Powder, which awesomely does 20 damage and automatically poisons. Auto Poison is going to be huge during this challenge, and with the additional 20 damage, Ivysaur will be a beast. 3 grass energies is costly though. The next 3 are going to be an entire evolution line, and I am able to attack with all 3, so that's sweet. Weedle has 40 HP, a retreat cost of 1, and no decision making here, it only has Poison Sting for 1 grass energy. Poison Sting does 10 and poisons on a coin flip, which isn't ideal. Weedle evolves into Kakuna, who surprisingly doubles its HP to 80, which is kinda nuts because it's Kakuna. It also has a larger retreat cost of 2. They made a typical weak Pokemon in the main games pretty boss in this. For 2 grass energies, Poison Powder auto-poisons and does 20. Kakuna is even better than Ivysaur. Crazy stuff. And that's not all, I can still evolve it into Beedrill, one of my personal favorite Pokemon. Beedrill retains the same HP of 80, but actually loses its retreat cost entirely, and develops a resistance to fighting. What a mad lad. But here's the thing, it also loses its auto-poison, and goes back to a coin flip with Poison Sting. But it dishes out 40 damage. That will make up for the auto-poison, making Beedrill a top mon for this challenge. All 3 also have a weakness to fire. Next is the mighty Nidoking. Unfortunately, male Nidoran and Nidorino cannot attack, so getting Nidoking will probably be a rare occasion. But if I ever do get into battle, oh boy. It has 90 HP, a weakness to Psychic, and a heavy retreat cost of 3. For 3 grass energies, Nidoking can use Toxic, which is like Poison Powder on steroids. Toxic hits for 20 and dishes out 20 each turn instead of 10. Yikes. Yeah, Nidoking will come in handy if I ever get to use it. Next is a similar one to Ivysaur in that I will only be able to attack with Weepinbell. Bellsprout is useless and I will not have Victory Bell. Weepinbell is back to a weakness to fire and a 1 retreat cost, and has 70 HP. It has Poison Powder for a single grass energy, which deals 10 and poisons on a coin flip. Yeah, Weepinbell won't be much of a powerhouse or anything, but the 70 HP is nice, if Bellsprout survives that is. One of the weaker options in the deck. Next up is the counterpart to Weepinbell, Gloom. Similarly, Oddish cannot attack and there is no Vileplume. Gloom has 60 HP, a weakness to fire, and a 1 retreat cost. But here's something new, this Poison Powder does not deal any damage, just auto-poisons. Oh. Yeah, Gloom is arguably the top weak point of the deck in that it has to evolve and doesn't deal any damage. But it's still an option if things are looking bad. Only 1 grass energy needed is actually really nice. Next is going to be a unique one in that there are 2 variants of Tangela in this game and both of them have poison attacks. First is Jungle Tangela, who has 50 HP, a weakness to fire, and a 2 retreat cost. We're back to auto-poison with Poison Powder, also dealing 20 for 3 grass energies. Without having to worry about evolving, Tangela is not a bad choice, but 3 energies is one that will take time. The other Tangela is one that is exclusive to this game, which is kinda cool. It's almost exactly the same, except Poison Whip does 10 instead of 20 with the auto-poison, but it requires 2 grass energies and 1 colorless, the first time we're seeing a colorless energy. Yeah, double colorless energies will not be worth it for this challenge. This is the lesser Tangela, but it still could come in handy. Next is the tandem of Ekans and Arbok, both ones I can attack with. Ekans has 40 HP, a weakness to Psychic, and a retreat cost of 1. It has Spit Poison for 1 grass, which does not deal damage, and poisons on a coin flip. Yeah, that's a bad one. Luckily, Ekans evolves into Arbok. Arbok has 60 HP, the same Psychic weakness, and a retreat cost of 2. Poison Fang now auto-poisons and deals 20 for 2 grass and 1 colorless. Much better than Ekans, but still takes some powering up. Next is Venomoth, as Venonat cannot attack. Venomoth has 70 HP, a weakness to fire, a resistance to fighting, and a free retreat cost. Heck yeah! And check this out, Venomoth also has a Pokemon power. Shift allows me to change Venomoth's type to any other type in play as long as it doesn't have any status effects. It's situational, but the option is there, so that's kinda cool. For 2 grass, Venom Powder does 10 and poisons and confuses on a coin flip. I actually debated on whether or not this one should count since confusion damage really isn't part of the challenge, but I went with that it has to be there since it does poison as well, so it counts in my book. Yeah, Venomoth will be a fun one to use. We're getting there. Next is Muck with Grimer not being able to attack, which is kinda strange as Grimer is literally a massive poison goo. But anyway, Muck has 70 HP, a weakness to Psychic, and a 2 retreat cost. And look at that, it also has its own Pokemon power. Toxic Gas causes all other Pokemon powers to stop working unless Muck has a status effect. I only have 2 others with a Pokemon power, so the odds of it affecting me are pretty minimal. Pretty awesome though. For 3 grass, Sludge deals 30 and poisons on a coin flip. The 30 is real nice at least. It might be tough keeping track of who auto-poisons and who needs coin flips in this challenge, but I'll learn these as I go through it. Muck will be a strong one to use. But both Coughing and Wheezing can be used. Coughing has 50 HP, a weakness to Psychic, and a retreat cost of 1. Like with Venomoth, this one is a controversial one. For 2 grass, Foul Gas does 10 and only poisons on a heads coin flip. If the flip is tails, it causes confusion. Now, I could say that anytime confusion damage happens, I gotta redo the match, but come on, that's getting pretty picky. I'm just gonna go with it. I'm still only using an attack that can poison, and it's possible that confusion damage never happens. We'll see, though. I think it counts. Wheezing, however, is pretty similar in every way, except gains 10 HP and Tails no longer confuses. Smog ends up doing 20 instead of Foul Gas's 10 though, so Wheezing is still slightly better and more accurate to the challenge without confusion even playing a factor. And that's actually it for all the grass Pokemon, but I have 2 more Pokemon left of different types, which adds to the challenge a little bit since they have to be here and I'll have to have some different energy types in the deck. I will have one single fire type in this deck of Magmar, one that I've spoken before about how annoying it is to be against in other challenges numerous times. This time, I get to use it. Magmar has 70 HP, a weakness to water, and a 1 retreat cost. For 2 fire energies, I can use Smog, which does 20, and poisons on a coin flip. Here's the thing, fire energies will be very hard to come by in this deck since this is literally the only attack I will need them for. So the odds of me actually attacking with Magmar are probably pretty low. It'll most likely act as a stalling Pokemon, but I will certainly put fire energies and energy surges in the deck just in case. Fire will help against most grass Pokemon, if anything. And finally, our last friend is another one of a different type, and in my opinion, the absolute weak point, and I may never end up using it. Here's why it's rough. I cannot attack with Tentacool, and Tentacool has a measly 30 HP, so it won't last too long. It does have the Pokemon power of Cowardice, where I can simply return Tentacool to my hand if need be, but that's it. But I'll need it out to actually use Tentacruel, the only water type I can attack with. Tentacruel has 60 HP, a weakness to lightning, but a free retreat cost, so there's that at least. For 2 water energies, Jellyfish Sting does 10 and auto poisons. So this one is very situational and is kinda worse than Magmar since I have to evolve it to even use it. And there we have it. Thanks for listening to that exhaustive rundown as there was a lot to go over this time. Now it's time for me to actually get all of these cards, but honestly it won't really take all that long. If I take the Bulbasaur and Friends deck, I start with Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Male Nidoran, Nidorino, and one of the Tangelas, so that's a start. And I only need to fight 3 different trainers to get the packs I need. I'm going to take down Jacob in the Science Club as he is literally the only trainer I can get laboratory packs from at the very beginning. And then, I've truly been touched by an angel here. Both Ryan and Matthew will need to be taken outside and shown what it's like. The 2 nerdiest and absolute worst people ever, and I get to defeat them on repeat yet again. You see, it's not bullying if their faces are punchable, it's just the rule of the land. And it really didn't take all that long to get all 25 Pokemon thanks to the save state option before opening packs. Nidoking was the one that took the longest to find. So once I caused Matthew and Ryan's credit score to drop to uncomfortable levels, it was time to begin the challenge. And since my deck is loaded with toxic grass friends, Gene will be the one to start with. The Rock Club will crumble into nothingness as the streets will run purple with powdery poison, the toxicity of our city. So, not a great start as I only get a Bellsprout to use with no Weepin' Bell in sight. I also get an Ivysaur and Beedrill on the draw. Luckily for me, Gene starts with Rhyhorn, who needs 3 energies to even attack, so I have time to stall. I draw a Tentacool, so I'm just full of Pokemon I can't do anything with yet. So all I can do is stall, turn after turn, and I'm getting really lucky that Gene isn't adding enough energies to attack with Rhyhorn. After a while, I decide to unleash a Gusty to bring in his weak Onix. Onix can dish out only 10 a turn and has a large retreat cost. But I am getting absolutely nothing I can use. Finally, I draw my Tentacruel, which is certainly not the first one I expected to be able to use. However, I don't even have enough water energies to use Jellyfish Sting, so I'm still at a standstill. Then I draw a Professor Oak, but it's too risky with Kakuna, Beedrill, and Ivysaur all in my hand. It'll be a last resort option. Then it happens. Just when Bellsprout is on its last life, I draw Bulbasaur. I need 3 energies to even attack with Ivysaur, so I gotta get them out quick, as I do have 3 in my hand. Bellsprout meets his end, so I bring in Bulbasaur, instantly evolving it to Ivysaur. Gene is also powering up a Graveler and has that Rhyhorn still, so he has options once Onix goes away. But then, many turns later, I can finally attack for the first time. Boom! Poison Powder rains down on his Rock Snake. 40 damage and an auto poison. Ivysaur is boss. But since Onix is of little threat, I gotta use a Gusty to get his Graveler out of there. Graveler goes down easily, but it first Rock throws my Ivysaur for 40. I also draw the Jungle Tangela, so I can still survive if I lose Ivysaur. Diglett is a one-shot, then his Rhyhorn goes down in 2, then another Diglett, 2 prizes left. In comes Onix, which is not a big deal, but he actually uses a switch to bring in the other Onix to eliminate the poison. That's fine, but unfortunately my Ivysaur gets hit by too many rocks. You saved this match, my friend. I bring in Tangela, hoping I can get one more Grass Energy. Onix absolutely dies from poison. 1 prize left. He brings in Graveler, but I actually draw a Grass Energy. I Poison Powder his Graveler for 40 from the weakness, so it's down to 10 just like that. But oh man, Gene evolves it into Golem, and uses a Super Potion. Yeah, not good. But the Super Potion also uses up an energy, so he cannot attack with Golem yet. I go for the Poison Powder again, bringing Golem down to 20. Golem one-shots my Tangela with Avalanche, but it's all over. And guess who gets to deal the winning blow? My Tentacruel of all Pokemon. I just stated in the rundown that Tentacruel would be the weak point of the deck, and I will probably never use it, and I go and win my first medal with it at the end there. So I guess I'm the idiot. Rock medal obtained, and I gotta say, that was a lot of fun. I really didn't think I was going to win with how long I had to leave Bellsprout in the stall, but Ivysaur was the MVP that time. On to the Water Club. After disposing of the lackeys, it's on to Amy, and I get a pretty rough draw. A Tangela requiring 3 energies to attack, and a Nidoran who can attack. Not a surprise that I don't last too long. Attempt number 2. This time I get a bit more options on the draw. A Coughing with a Wheezing, Magmar, Venonat, and Ekans. See, I'm so used to only using like 4 Paras in an entire deck, so now I have to get used to drawing plenty of Pokemon with only 6 bench spots. I opt for Coughing at the start since I only need 2 energies to attack with it, or Wheezing. I decide to play everybody anyway. Amy starts with a Goldeen, so not too bad. I choose to not evolve Coughing yet and get a Tails with Follow Gas, causing confusion instead of poison. Something about this doesn't feel right, so I evolve Coughing next turn. I get to use the Oakman, giving me a ton of grass energies. Also the Kakuna and a Beedrill, so that's cool. No Weedle though. Luckily, Goldeen does not end up hurting itself from confusion, so the challenge feels more accurate again. Goldeen goes down, but Amy now has a Squirtle and Lapras. She uses an Oakman for herself, giving her 2 more Squirtle. I cannot let her get a Blastoise. Also, my Weezing gets confused from Lapras, so it doesn't even know where it is right now. I draw the Game Boy Tangela, so I get to work on powering that up. Then I get lucky and avoid confusion damage and get to poison Lapras. Lapras' stomach turned 3 times on this day. I get lucky with confusion again and bring Lapras down to 10. She retreats for Squirtle number 1. After Amy shows me that her retreat game is strong, I finally lose my Wheezing. Instead of bringing in Tangela, I go for something different. A Bellsprout who can immediately become a Weepinbell. Weepinbell is more of a stalling Pokemon for me as it only needs 1 grass energy to maybe poison, but has enough HP to last a few rounds. I knock out one of her Squirtle and bring another down to 10, and she goes for the big guns with Seaking. Seaking does 30 for only 2 energies, so that's actually kinda scary. But oh yes, I draw a Pokeball and it's successful. I for sure gank that Weedle so I can have my Beedrill on the ready in a couple turns. Seaking knocks out Weepinbell pretty easily, so I get Tangela in there to take advantage of the auto poison. I get rid of her Seaking thanks to a plus power, and she brings in the Lapras who can barely breathe anymore. But Water Gun is enough to knock out Tangela. This is getting close. But it's Beedrill time. Beedrill does an instant 40 and can maybe poison, so she's in trouble. Beedrill shows Lapras colors it's never even seen before, and now I gotta deal with this other Squirtle who paralyzes my poor bee friend. Amy gets yet another Lapras too, so she's just full of multiples of the same Pokemon. So I knock out Squirtle with 1 prize left, and after some frequent retreating, I end up one-shotting her Horsey with Beedrill, giving me the Water Medal. I like that these are taking time for the strategy to really go into effect. I kinda wonder if any of these matches will be won by running out of cards in our decks. I mean, I already predict I'll beat Ronald that way, but whoa, 1 step at a time. Ladies, please. Let's do the stupid Lightning Club next. The less I think about Isaac, the better. Lackey's done, Isaac time. I start with a Tangela, Ekans, and Oddish with a Gloom and Nidoking. Since Tangela takes 3 to attack, I go with Oddish to use Gloom on turn 2. I use an early Gusty to make sure I poison Electabuzz since Magnemite isn't too scary. Gloom is only an auto poison with no damage, so getting paralyzed after the first poison is no bigs. Electabuzz goes down and Isaac goes for a real Mad Lad move and absolutely blows up his Magnemite, shooting steel all over my poor Gloom. So I bring in Tangela, who actually ends up poisoning and knocking out the rest of his team, all except for him using a gust of wind to wreak havoc on my innocent Ekans. Yeah, this is what it sounds like when doves cry. So I did end up losing Gloom and Ekans, but still won easily thanks to Jungle Tangela. 20 damage with auto poison is scary stuff. Lightning Metal obtained. Let's dispose of the Science Club next. Rick is about to get shoved into his own locker. But oh, joke's on me, right? I end up losing because this stupid Grimer paralyzed my Arbok 7 times in a row with nasty goo at one point. It allowed him to power up the rest of his bench, and his wheezing blew up his entire lab just to win this match. At least it shows how terrified of me Rick really is. Attempt number 2. His Mewtwo knocks out my Ivysaur. That's it. That's the whole match. Attempt number 3. So I've said before that some of my least favorite Pokemon to be against are Horsey and Magmar, but oh my god, I think Grimer is going to take the first place medal home this time. Let me fast forward into this battle, and good lordy lord, look at how ridiculous his bench is. He managed to get all 4 Grimer and made sure he used them constantly. Here's what would happen. I would poison one of them. He would immediately retreat for one of the other 3 and then paralyze me with nasty goo. And if I got lucky and didn't end up getting paralyzed, then I would poison that Grimer and the whole process would be repeated. So incredibly annoying. Eventually I did get a couple Gusties, so I could finally decide when to bring in the injured Grimers. God, I hate Grimer. But would you look at this? The star of the show this time was my Tentacruel. Jellyfish Sting's auto poison surprisingly came in handy very well, and I ended up yeeting his Grimer army into the ocean, and then easily took out his lame Porygon at the end to give me the Science Medal. Wow, that was an annoying battle. And yes, I do see the stupidness of me winning by poisoning his poison-type Grimers. It's all in the cards, yo. I think it's time to go beat up on Murray next. He's always easy. You know, next time I go get too cocky, just tell me to shut up. Just comment right down below and tell me to shut my face. And don't forget to subscribe before you do. Because, yeah, Murray stomped me here. The thing with this poison deck is that a lot of my Pokemon are obviously poison types in the main game. They may be grass type cards, but those ones have a weakness to psychic. So Murray is actually kind of a tough battle for once. And since I can only poison, I really can't rely on winning matches this time by making them leave Kangaskhan in, which is what Murray opens with. A challenge where I don't even want them to use Kangaskhan. Now we're really getting crazy. Attempt number 2. So if you weren't sure if I was a moron before, this time I use an early gust of wind to bring in his Abra. He proceeds to turn that Abra into Alakazam in 2 turns and takes out my entire team. Lovely, so lovely. Attempt number 3. I get an interesting draw of Tangela and Venonat with a Pokeball as well. Venonat is useless until I get Venomoth, so I decide to opt for Tangela, even though I need 3 energies. I have 2 grass in my hand, so I take the chance. Murray comedically starts with Kangaskhan. What a chump. My Pokeball is successful, so I go for Venomoth. Murray's Kangaskhan starts fetching all over the place, so the odds are higher that he can turn these Abras into Kadabra or Alakazam pretty quick. Both are scary for this deck. I finally get enough energies, so Tangela kicks off with that sweet, sweet auto poison. Just, Do I feel bad that Kangaskhan's baby is reeling from the toxicity? It's just a card? No. Murray is 1 energy away from being able to use Comet Punch, which would be bad for my pile of vines. But he uses a switch to bring in Mr. Mime. Oh, okay. Mr. Mime is all sorts of not scary to my poison deck. Tangela can bring it down to 10 in 1 turn, so you do that, Murray. Bring in all the Mr. Mimes you want. But Murray retreats Mr. Mime for Abra, who I can one-shot as long as I don't get paralyzed. Boom, Tails. Abra goes away back to Mr. Mime, but he plays another Abra, uses a scoop up to bring Mr. Mime back to his hand and brings in Abra. You're making this way too easy for me, bro. I avoid another Psyshock paralysis. 2 Abra gone. Mr. Mime comes back again, but now I have a couple Gusties, so I decide it's time to knock out Kangaskhan just in case Comet Punch becomes a thing. Mr. Mime comes in again, and he plays a 3rd Abra now. For fear of Kadabra, I decide to use my last Gusty to knock that one out, also bringing me down to 2 prizes. Heck yeah. The Mr. Mime dance continues, but I think it's time to knock this fool out. but just like that, Mr. Mime's Meditate actually takes out Tangela. But the poison also knocks out Mr. Mime. One prize left. I bring in Venomoth hoping I get a Grass Energy, and I do. I get his Kangaskhan down to 10, but he retreats for Snorlax. Uh-oh. Snorlax can't be poisoned. However, Snorlax also needs 4 energies to attack and 3 to retreat. So all I gotta do is chisel away at it. Also, I get a Grimer and a Muck, and playing Muck puts a stop to all Pokemon powers. But it didn't even matter in the long run, because my combination of Venomoth and Magmar knock out his thick boy, giving me the Psychic Metal. Well, I guess that could have gone worse. The Fire Club is now the only one that's a little intimidating, but at least a lot of my Pokemon aren't weak to fire. Let's tackle that one next. God, why do I always forget about Ronald interrupting me? Go away! Okay, it's Ken. I get a pretty atrocious draw of a ton of Pokemon but no energies. This one was pretty uneventful, and yeah, I didn't get too far. Attempt number 2. I start with Magmar and Tentacool with no corresponding energies, so yeah, this one absolutely sucked too. It's rough when I finally get an Arbok with enough energies and it gets taken out in 2 hits because poison is a slow burn. At least I got to see this moron use 2 potions on his Chansey just to immediately use Double Edge to knock itself out. Way to go, Chief. And I still lost. But oh well, attempt number 3. This time I start with a Coughing, Kakuna, and Beedrill. Could be worse? Ken starts with a Jigglypuff since he barely uses fire types, and I draw a Magmar. In my predominantly grass deck, I now have more fire Pokemon out than the Fire Club leader does. Jigglypuff starts putting my Coughing to sleep, so I'm having a rough time being able to do anything yet. I have 2 Gusties, so I think it's time to whip up a Gale to bring Chansey in to hit it with some Poison Love. But this Coughing must have taken its Trazodone because it's not waking up. Finally, it wakes up and Chansey fails with Scrunch, so damage will not be prevented. Chansey is powering up for a Double Edge, but thankfully Poison is hitting it enough where it doing 80 to itself would be a knockout. But Ken goes for it anyway. Boom! Coughing and Chansey cross the Rainbow Bridge together. But I'm in trouble now because I have nobody else who can attack. A Magmar and a Tentacool. My prize is my Tentacruel, interestingly enough, but I don't have enough water energies to use it. The tricky part of having only 1 water Pokemon in the deck that can attack. I go for Magmar to try and buy some time. I draw 1 fire energy, so now I'm stuck with my 2 non-grass Pokemon and only 1 correct energy each. But luckily Jigglypuff is only using Lullaby and not attacking me. Just when I say that though, I begin to get taken to Pound Town. But oh boy, my next card is my White Knight riding in on the Horse of Justice to save me from this burning hellscape. That's right, it's Weedle. Remember that my first draw had both Kakuna and Beedrill, so give me a couple turns and Ken is in for a world of hurt. Then it's time for my Killer Bee to buzz a while. A 40 damage Poison Sting is crazy good. Beedrill goes on an absolute rampage, knocking out folks left and right. I didn't run the table with Beedrill or anything, but I came close. His Tauros actually did knock it out, but I ended up getting a Venomoth along the way who finished the match. Venomoth's shift Pokemon power turned it into a water type since I had Tentacruel out, and Ken's torch got snuffed out once again, giving me the Fire Metal. Only 2 remain, Grass and Fighting. Neither should be too difficult though. Mitch time. I seem to be winning most of these in 3 attempts, so I suspect a loss here. My first draw is just a Nidoran and Arbok with a Pokemon Trader in my hand. I use that to switch out Arbok for Tangela, and just when I thought I had a chance, his Hitmonlee sweeps my team. Cool. Attempt number 2. Nope, this one blew. I don't want to talk about it. Next, attempt number 3. This one, honestly, there isn't too much to say. My first draw was a Tangela, but I also had Kakuna, Beedrill, and a Pokemon Trader in my hand to get a Weedle right away. I did lose a couple along the way, but having Beedrill out was perfect since it has a resistance to fighting. Poison Sting wiped out his team no problem, and yet again I won on the 3rd try for the 4th time in a row. Weird. Only the grassy ladies remain. Let's poison their roots. I start with a Coughing who gets poisoned pretty quick, so I get a Weezing with a Pokeball, and Weezing gets poisoned and I don't get any other Pokemon. I lost from my Weezing being poisoned by a Gloom. How stupid. Attempt number 2. I got Nikki all the way down to 6 cards left in her deck and ended up losing again because she got my Ivysaur poisoned. I'm losing from my poison types getting poisoned before I can poison her poison types fast enough, and this is all sounding ridiculous. Attempt number 3. I start with Grimer and some evolved ones I can't use, so this is bad. But I draw a Bulbasaur next with Ivysaur on the ready. Time to power it up. But then I kinda stall on grass energies, so it's back to bad. Then I draw a Venonat with a Venomoth in my hand, so if I get some energies, I have a shot here. Grimer finally goes down, and I chance it with Bulbasaur, hoping I get a grass energy. But I draw Oddish, so that's lame. Next turn, I get my grass. I heal up Bulbasaur, and Ivysaur starts to spread toxins. She does the retreat dance, and I lose Ivysaur quicker than I had hoped, though. Oh well. I just have Venomoth and Oddish, both can't attack yet. After a turn or two of holding off a loss, I do get a Pokemon Trader and traded my Arbok for Magmar, although I only have one fire energy. I use Shift to change Venomoth to a fire type thanks to Magmar being out, and Execute finally goes down from Ivysaur's poison. In comes her other Execute, who can't attack with Leech Seed yet. Then my beautiful grass energy appears, and I unleash Venom Powder all over her eggs like salt and pepper. Boom! Poisoned and confused. She retreats for Bulbasaur, who I knock out, then her Execute goes down, and then her next Execute evolves into Executor, who is ultimately not a threat. 2 prizes left. Just when I thought I had it won, she evolves Oddish into Gloom and poisons my poor moth. I have no backup plan if Venomoth goes down, so I go for the ol' Oakman. It yields a bunch of new Pokemon, and more importantly, a fire energy for Magmar. I lose Venomoth and Magmar takes out Gloom. 1 prize left. She brings in another Gloom, instantly poisoning Magmar. If I lose Magmar, I'm almost out of options. I have a Gloom of my own who can only poison. Her Gloom uses Foul Odor, which confuses us both, so I try for the Confusion Retreat since I actually have my 3rd fire energy now. It fails, of course, so I chance Smog for the win. And I knock myself out from Confusion. Not good. I bring in Tentacool to buy some time. She tries to retreat Gloom and fails. Tries Poison Powder once and ends up knocking itself out from Confusion, giving me the win and the final medal. Well then, not a flashy finish, but I'll take it. And yet again, another win on the 3rd attempt. I hope the Grandmasters don't all take 3 attempts, or I have a long finale ahead of me. Let's finish this. First is, of course, Grandmaster Courtney with her fancy little Moltres cards. And here's a first. I lost just because she used a last card early on. Last causes both of us to shuffle all trainer cards in our hands into our decks. I had a Professor Oak in my hand to get a brand new hand, but when I lost it, the only Pokemon I had was Ekans, who went down in 2 hits. So funny. Attempt number 2. She gets an early Moltres, blah blah, I had no chance. Attempt number 3. She gets an Arcanine early, god, I love this game. Attempt number 4. Nope. Attempt number 5. I start with a handful of options and a Pokeball, so there's that. I go with Coughing first since it can attack the fastest. My Pokeball is a success, so I get my Ivysaur, taking a chance with its weakness to fire. She starts with Growlithe and gets a Moltres right away, so I utilize my Gust of Wind to make sure it's useless. Also, Professor Oak made a visit so I can stock up on energies. Moltres gets poisoned and Courtney gives up on it right away, completely betraying its trust. So while Moltres is suffering from both poison and a broken heart, she evolves her Vulpix into Ninetales, which I hate. I draw a Weezing, but I choose not to evolve Coughing since Ninetales can take it out, and I can use Weezing for my Pokemon Trader. Moltres completely dies. In comes Ninetales, who dances so many embers on my poor Coughing. I really hate Courtney matches. But instead of Ivysaur, I go for Weepinbell to maybe poison, since it only needs a single energy, and, let's be honest, is kind of expendable, especially against a fire deck. Poison fails, and she gets a second Ninetales now, so just great. But I get a slight break with her getting only 3 heads. Weepinbell survives just barely. I get a Nidorino to evolve my Nidoran, but I'm kinda lacking on energies here. I can't use anyone other than Weepinbell just yet. But Weepinbell pulls through and poisons on its last breath. Way to go, little buddy. Then I accidentally pressed the buttons too fast and brought in Tangela, which is not what I wanted to do. Well, that was dumb. I used my Pokemon Trader to get Nidoking, but I basically just signed a Death Warrant for Tangela, who could have come in handy. So I end up wasting both energies to retreat for Ivysaur and put my last grass energy on it, hoping I can get enough for Nidoking eventually. Then I get so lucky. She only gets 2 heads on 8 flips, letting my Ivysaur survive as her first Ninetales dies from poison. Wow. In comes her other Ninetales, so I poison that luxury fox so fast. She only needs 1 heads out of 8 to knock out Ivysaur, and good god, she gets 7. Ivysaur got hit with so much fire that even I had to take my fleece jacket off. I bring in Energyless Tangela to try and get enough energies on Nidoking, as that's now my only shot here. I just need 1 more. Courtney plays another stupid Moltres too, but look at this luck. Only 2 heads on Dancing Embers yet again, and Tangela survives. But I don't draw a Grass Energy. This is gonna be close. And then, dear God, Courtney removes an energy from Nidoking, and I am furious. But luckily, Ninetales succumbs to the poison as it takes out Tangela. She only needs 2 prizes now, and I have nobody who can attack. I bring in Weedle for cannon fodder. My prize is a grass, and I draw one. Thank God. Growlithe burns my Weedle down, and she only needs 1 prize. I can finally bring in Nidoking to have him go ballistic. Toxic is so good. 20 damage with 20 each alternating turn. I love it. Her Growlithe dies, and I just sit back. Eating seeds is a pastime activity. Toxic rains down on her flames as I watch her team slowly wither away, giving me the win. Holy wow, that was a tough battle. I need to start doing what I can to get Nidoking in there because he is beastly. Thunder Steve is next, and these are getting annoyingly tough. He gets a fast Jolteon who annihilates my only attacking Pokemon with Tangela. Well, that was over quick. Attempt number 2. I draw only Tentacool with 30 HP against a Lightning deck, and he plays Zapdos who knocks it out with its Pokemon power. That's all that happened. Attempt number 3. This one, this one's hilarious. You're gonna love this. Get in close now. This time he plays 2 Zapdos to instantly deal 60 to my only Tangela. Oh, this is good stuff. Oh my God, make this stop. Attempt number 4. I only get Tentacool and Venonat, who both get one-shotted by Electrode. Bro, these matches are literally lasting less than a minute. Come on now. Attempt number 5. I get another terrible draw of only Bulbasaur. What is happening? Attempt number 6. Just let something happen. Okay, I still lost this one, but at least the battle took over 9 minutes. I actually came close. I'm not mad at all. Attempt number 7, and now this challenge really sucks. Why did I do this? But oh boy, I did it. I won. I know I'm skipping ahead, but I won. My Ivysaur and Tangela poisoned all of his fools. That's all I need to say. I'm done with you, Thunder Steve. That's it. Let's move on. The battle against Jack, though, oh boy. Check this out. I start with Venonat only. He opens with a Chansey, which is awesome for me. Gives me some time. But right away, I opt for the Gambler on the first turn. I lose my hand, and Heads gives me 8 cards. Tails gives me 1. I get Heads. But the only usable one I get is Magmar, and I have no fire energies. But Jack weirdly starts to add energies to his other ones instead of a healthy Chansey, so that's weird. I get Grimer, so I still can't attack. Turn after turn goes by, and he is not adding anything to Chansey, and all I'm getting are evolved ones. Finally, I draw my Oddish, and I do have Gloom in hand, so it's time to start doing something. I also get a Coughing and retreat Venonat for Gloom to start the poison train. But that's literally all Gloom can do, so I poison once and I keep waiting. Surprisingly, I actually get both energies for Magmar as well, but Jack says enough of this. He uses a switch for his now fully powered Dugong and Aurora Beams Gloom for 50. I poison Dugong, thank Gloom for its service, and I hope for the best. There is not much I can do now as all of my Pokemon can be one-shotted and only Magmar and Coughing can attack. So I lose Venonat and then Grimer while the poison seeps through Dugong's veins. I draw Professor Oak, but man, I have too many good cards that I could lose. I gotta wait on that one. Since Dugong is now down to 20, I bring in Magmar to finish it off, all while getting Jungle Tangela as well. Jack brings in Lapras and places Articuno with the Quick Freeze power to paralyze Magmar. Not good. Magmar goes down from 2 Lapras Water Guns and he only needs 2 prizes now. He starts doing the retreat dance and I just keep on auto-poisoning with Tangela. His team isn't looking too scary though. Only Seal and Lapras have energies on them, and they're both way injured. I use a Gusty to knock out Lapras and he begins to add energies to Articuno. I use a Bill to get another Gusty, so I use that to bring in Articuno now. I think I all of a sudden have the upper hand. I draw Nidoran with Nidorino in my hand since the beginning as well. I use an energy removal to stop Articuno from being able to attack, but he uses a switch to cure Articuno and brings in Seal? Okay. It's looking grim for Tangela, so I use the Oakman to bring my deck way down. I gotta act fast. No Nidoking though. I knock out Seal and he brings in Chansey to stall and plays the other Articuno. Right before Chansey dies, he uses another switch to bring in the healthy Articuno and now I'm in trouble. My deck is almost out. But I do fully heal Tangela and poison Articuno. He retreats and I'm down to 4 cards left in my deck, but poison takes time. He loses Chansey and my prize, Nidoking. Oh yes, I'm so glad I was adding energies to Nidorino. I retreat Tangela because I'm addicted to Nidoking because he is toxic. Nidoking straight up murders Articuno and then Chansey to give me the ever so close victory. Wow, yeah, that was a fun one. And I love Nidoking now. Okay, 2 battles left and this one is over. But now we're back to this garbage. I only get Ekans, who really sucks. A very quick loss. Attempt number 2. Ugh, this one was so close, in a 13-minute battle that I ultimately lost because Rod played Dragonite with a healing wind power that healed up Charmeleon just before it was going to tip over and die. Attempt number 3, come on, let's just get a good draw here. So this ended up being the battle of the weaklings here. At one point he did get Dragonair and Lapras, but that's the strongest his team got. But here's the thing, I actually ended up winning this one, and all I used the entire time were Weedle, Coughing, and Weepinbell, and a very brief attack from Magmar at the end to win it. There really isn't much to say about it. I had to take out a handful of Charmander, Magikarp, and Dratini this time around. But dear God, let's end this challenge. Derpy Ronald is the only Chad left. Will I win this with him running out of cards like usual? Let's find out and complete the challenge. Okay, I'm done. I'm so sick of this challenge. It sucks. Don't even do it. It's not worth your time. Please stay tuned to the next Paraspective challenge. Yeah, I actually came close to both winning and decking him here, but nope. I had some terrible coin flip luck, giving me horrible flashbacks to the Sandslash challenge. Muck never once got a poison with Sludge in about 6 attacks. I just needed at least one of those to hit. Attempt number 2, please make this end. Nope, next, number 3. I start with only Bulbasaur, come on, against his Dratini. However, I get a Pokemon Trader, so I immediately trade in my Beedrill for Ivysaur to try and get Poison Powder ready. He starts adding fire energies to his Eevee, so I assume a Flareon is on the way. His Dratini dies and I poison his Eevee, but I get hit with 2 energy removals and he plays my favorite card of all time and retreats Eevee for it. Well, at least Moltres can attack for a couple turns. I get a successful Pokeball, but I don't really know what to use it on. I just have Ivysaur and GB Tangela right now, so I opt for Coughing since it doesn't have a weakness to fire. Plus Coughing is a great starter for this deck. But now I don't have a 3rd Grass Energy to attack. I do have a Professor Oak, but I also have Nidoking, so I don't want to give that up so easily just yet. I play a random Water Energy onto Tangela to cover the colorless, and he makes a weird choice here. Another energy removal, but he removes the water one instead of another from Ivysaur. He adds an energy to Moltres, but my next card is a grass one, so I poison that godforsaken Firebird so fast. Moltres' immune system began to break down faster than Matthew's checking account. Ronald leaves Moltres in and goes for the Dive Bomb. Bam! Ivysaur is well done. Now I have nobody else I can attack with, so I just bring in Tangela and watch the poison seep over Moltres' beak. Moltres Dive Bombs Tangela, but finally dies in the process. All I have left is Coughing now. I draw Ekans, but cool. Coughing poisons his Eevee who becomes Flareon, except lucky me, Flareon can't attack yet. So I poison Flareon who ends up not doing anything at all. All he has left is another Eevee with 20 HP left, but he draws a Kangaskhan. Come on, it's too late for that. I take out Eevee in 2 hits, only Kangaskhan and Dratini are left. Since poison takes forever, it gives him enough time to get a quick Dragonair with 3 energies. Please just end. Kangaskhan finally dies, 1 prize left. Time for Dragonair. I end up confusing it instead and it hits itself, and you know what? I don't even care anymore. Confusion damage is okay with me at this point. I poison Dragonair too, and he fails on the retreat, so you know what that means. I simply bring in Tangela to finish it off, winning me the challenge. And blah blah, skip through legendary cards, don't care, credits, and done. Dear God. You know, I honestly thought this was going to end up being a lot more fun than it actually was. And not just because I lost a lot, although that is part of it, but most of my losses were from my own rules of not being able to attack with so many Pokemon, so I kind of did that to myself. I still love Poison as a status effect in this game, but solely relying on it is pretty tough. If I had a custom deck of only the best ones and omitted ones like Tentacruel and Weepinbell, it would have been a bit easier, but I wasn't really going for easy. The ice challenge I did was pretty easy, so this one brought me down to earth more. It was reaching Sandslash levels of frustrating at times, so no, I wouldn't necessarily say I recommend it, at least with the strict rules I implemented. Speaking of, and I could be wrong here, but I think that confusion damage that Dragonair took at the very end there was the only time confusion damage occurred during a win. So does that count? You make the call. I don't want to battle him again though. But yeah, the standouts of the deck were ones I didn't necessarily expect. Nidoking is an absolute boss, but with only a single Nidoran and Nidorino, and I guess Nidoking in the deck, getting him was a rare event. Same with Beedrill. I feel like Jungle, Tangela, and Ivysaur were strong go-tos, although their HP is a bit low. Koffing was the best starter by far in my opinion, but any of them with Auto Poison wins out in my book. Weepinbell and Gloom kinda got lost in the shuffle, but they were cheap 1 energy options with a nice amount of HP. But yeah, I did it. There were only 3 major battles in the entire game that I won on the first try. Rock Leader Gene, Lightning Leader Isaac, and Ice Grandmaster Jack. Only the Rock one wasn't surprising with how grass heavy my deck was. But challenge complete, and I think it's time to step away from this game for now, until I get the urge for more trading card torture. If you find yourself getting an urge yourself, do consider checking out my Patreon like these awesome people have done if you wish to support the Paraspectre channel. I'm thinking of getting more custom swag, but I gotta see what people would actually want first. Any support is so greatly appreciated, seriously. Well, Spike, I did it. I took your advice and I ended up poisoning every single Pokemon I came across. Hey, were you out here this whole time? I got a haircut and everything.
No.
Well, that's good. And you know what? You inspired me. I think it's time to forgive and forget. I'm gonna reach out to my buddy John again. Hey, I wanted to reach out and see if you wanted to come over and watch the game and hang out or something. There. I think it's important to... Oh well, I guess I'm the toxic one.